I was just reading through your writing, Genevieve, and everything here makes really good sense. And just based on what you're writing here, I can tell that you've been paying attention. You've been reading the course resources and studying the material. So that's even more obvious in your sketches. So this is fantastic. Good job. Great job deciphering, or actually describing your conceptual approach. I think this is really super interesting. Let's go right over into your sketches and take a look. But when I do, I kind of also want to take you over to the assignments page because there's a couple of missing requirements. So let's do that first. Let's go over to well, actually, let's go to your sketches first. The first is I wanted to look at is this page. So you've got the image, you've got your resources, great job there. Timeline information, excellent. I think in between 8 and 12 entries for a timeline is probably optimal. Any more than that, and you're going to risk the viewer not looking through. Any less than that, and it's just going to seem really incomplete. And I think these 3 or 4 paragraphs are perfect for your bio information. So excellent job, good setup there. All right, so let's go back, and these are the 2 sketches I'm interested in. Gosh, let me pull these down and pull these off this window so I can resize them, and we can get them in the window. Excellent, there we go, perfect. Okay, so these 2 sketches here, the thing I want to go over here is this. First of all, I want to say that this is always how I start designing. I always start with sketching. I sketch some ideas for headline subheads. I sketch some ideas, especially if there's going to be some sort of a word as image used, or I'm sorry, typography as image, or image as typography. Any kind of a juxtaposition there, and I start with sketching. So this is fantastic. But and then we come over to our layout for the back of the poster. But the thing I want to bring your attention to is this, and I'm just going to jump over to the milestone section of this page here, week 5, final project part 1. And I just want to bring you, well, first of all, you just really read this, just become as familiar as this. You're going to have to read this 4 or 5 times. I'm serious. I mean, there is so much in here to keep track of. But what we really are after are these milestones right here. For week 5, Nobel Prize poster parts 1 and 2. So research, provide name, biography, paragraphs, photo of the dates and events of your time. You got that. All right, here's where we're at. Create several thumbnail sketches of various layouts for both the front and the back. First iteration due by Wednesday, blah, 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 right? So anyways, what this is saying is create several thumbnail sketches of various layouts. And that's the part that gets some students' interpretation a little bit varied. And the reason I say that is because it says various layouts. Layouts is the key word here because we're looking for actual sketches of layouts. So we're looking for several sketches for the front of the entire poster and several sketches for the back of the entire poster. Okay, so right now we only have we only have the back of the poster. We don't have a sketch of the front of the poster. So it says several sketches at the front, several sketches at the back. I've been telling students 4 is fine. But let's go ahead and take a look at what you do have here, Genevieve, because I think it's just fantastic. Now, I took a look at this and I thought to myself, for sure, just looking at these sketches, it looks to me for sure like you have looked through the course announcement, specifically Welcome to Week 5 and the final project explained. And I went in there and I did a little, I just looked in there and sure enough, you did view those. So I just want to reinforce the importance of these two announcements. So if you had a chance to, well, you did have a chance to look at it, but if you have a chance to look at them again, just take a look and just really memorize the stuff in these 2 announcements. They, to a very high degree, will determine the success of this project. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. I think these are really interesting, and I think that you definitely understand that this is how things are done. Things are done via sketching. Ideas, let them out on paper. Just let them flow. So what you're doing here is you're creating this illustration of the plants that are wrapping around his name. And everything here is done typographically. So that's fantastic. Shows good understanding. I think it's a good concept. I think this is good too. It's interesting. I think they're all interesting. Out of the 3, I think this might have a lot of potential. I wouldn't split the name like this. I would keep that name, but I just think that this might be an interesting way to go. And I think that you also thought that a variation of that might be the most interesting, as we have this here. Now, including the chlorophyll in this wrap with the plant, I don't know if I would do that. It seems a little bit too cluttered. So maybe you have Richard and then a tagline at the bottom, and then have just this configuration or this configuration without the tagline. Now, the other thing I want to mention is we go back to the timeline, and you explained this in your writing. And let me just take a quick look. My timeline graphic is a chain of chlorophyll connected together, which we colored for my final. The paragraphs will alternate in a similar fashion of chlorophyll chain as seen in my sketch. Okay, that could be interesting, but that also could be difficult. So just keep an eye on that area. I think it could be really interesting. But the thing I want to mention is this: is typically you want to. I think we can probably get the most unity and the most harmony if we were to base the timeline on something that has started on the front of the poster. It's not a requirement at all, but it creates wonderful continuation. So, for example, this configuration right here, this typographic composition right here, wouldn't go on the back of the poster. It would go on the front of the poster, right? So we wouldn't see this on the back of the poster. But my point is that if you look at the front of the poster and you see this, and then you look at the back of the poster and you see this, there's a little bit of a disconnection. I think the connection could be stronger if we were to make the timeline somehow out of a portion of the illustrated plant matter, the illustrated foliage. So if you were to maybe create a timeline out of that, instead of introducing a new graphic, either that or introduce this graphic into the front of the poster. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think the most obvious example in this regard is the Toni Morrison with the fist, with the chain hanging off the fist, and that chain is duplicated and used on the back of the poster as the timeline. And that's just a wonderful example of continuation. My recommendation is to shoot for that. Okay, so the good news, Genevieve, is that you're showing outstanding aptitude here in the interpretation of the requirements, as well as the execution of the requirement, well, of portions of the setup. But the bad news is that we're not quite adhering to project requirements. So let's go ahead and address this. Create several thumbnail layouts, several thumbnail sketches of various layouts. So I would say, like I said, I'd say at least 3 or 4 of each. And then let's just wrap things up here and start thinking about how we're going to continue this and how we're going to start transitional work between our decisions of methodology and concept and how we're going to transition into execution. Okay. Now, I think that's all I have, Genevieve. It is. So, all right, great start. Thank you very much. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thanks, Genevieve.